in the studio recording, and you're kind of using this tour to try out some of the stuff you've been doing in the studio.
Yeah.
How's the new album coming along, and what's kind of the angle on this? What have you guys been doing since Like Swimming came out 2 years ago?
You know, we're trying to expand the sound of what we do and still keep the focus, keep our focus, our original focus. So we have been experimenting with, I guess we think of it as lateral expansion, like expanding sideways instead of reinforcing or adding some new frequencies.
Give me an example.
Well, like, for example, instead of getting guitars, we added more drums.
Okay, yeah, I read that you had
and we got more bass.
Drummer. Oh, I see what you're saying.
We're putting a lot more bass, you know, other bass instruments, baritone instruments, to expand it, like, laterally. And we've hit on some pretty cool things. We put a low string section together for a couple of songs.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Like cello, viola, and string bass.
Kind of to reinforce what your sound is like to begin with.
And I got a grand piano. Get some really pretty nice bass notes.
Yeah, below. I play
on the
keyboards.
left side there.
Yeah, very nice.
That's
what they call the burst-out notes, the high end or the low end of the piano keyboard.
Yeah, my tuner is from Russia. I'm always being picky about the bass notes, and he's always saying, no one uses those notes. Because I know, like, all classical music, he goes, there's only one classical piece that uses the low A that he knew of, some Rachmaninoff, I think.
Oh, really?
And only one that used the low B flat either. But that low A is coming very handy.
Yeah, I've always I love tracks that have used the low last two octaves on the piano keyboard.
Like Cool Dirk, what an awesome bass line that is. And played on the piano, you know the song?
Yeah.
Can you play it on the piano?
No, if I listened to it a few times. I'm totally by ear, and I've taken some music theory courses, but it's all by ear with me.
Do you know how to play Benny and the Jet?
No, I do not. Not a big Elton fan, but
that's the only Elton song that I like. I don't know why I like it.
Well, it's pretty upbeat, I guess. It's catchy.
It's not upbeat. I think one thing I like about it is how everybody's clapping along on the whole recording, way out of time. Like about a half second behind the band. I don't know. I just think that I like the way that works. I don't know why.
Well, he actually, in his early period, I have to admit, he did some pretty cool stuff in the early 70s. This is a question I've wanted to ask you. Oh, before we go on to this question, what's the schedule for the album coming out? You're in the studio now, so obviously it's not anytime real soon.
Well, the songs are pretty much together now, I think. We have a lot of good recordings.
Where are you recording them?
My house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a departure from the past.
Well, we've always included some things from my studio at my house. All the albums have 2 or 3 songs from High and Dry, it's called.
Oh, okay. Actually, now that I think about it, I have all the albums, so I've seen that
they all
mentioned.
But this year I have got a bigger tape recorder and bigger, more stuff.
I'm going to ask you about the production end of your recordings in a minute. This is a question I've always wanted to ask, is what was the inspiration behind putting a band together like this? You have, I could take every instrument and give something unique about it in the setup. It is the most, to me personally, one of the most unique bands that have come out in the last 10 years. You're doing something that's, in a way it's traditional, but in a way it's not. What was the inspiration behind putting together something that uses basically just baritone voicing?
Yeah.
The 2-string slide bass.
It was, at the time that Morphine started, we were all playing in a lot of different groups.
You were in Treat Her Right, correct?
Well, Treat Her Right was sort of on its last legs.
Okay.
We were just going out to make money occasionally.
I vaguely remember that I grew up listening to college radio. Were you guys just a Boston thing, or was it kind of like a regional thing? Because I kind of...
Well, we started getting a following in Boston, and as soon as we started, within a few months we decided to start recording a few songs at a time just to see what it sounded like in the studio and see what we could do with it. And after about a year, we had enough for a short CD, so that became good. And we pressed up some and mailed them around the country, and ended up getting some college airplay.
Okay.
And a little bit of press, and then we recorded Cure for Pain also on our own, without being signed or anything. And,
really, that was done pre-signing?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then Ryko heard that, and they said, "All right, let's do something."
That's probably, if I had to put together a list of best albums of the '90s, Cure for Pain would be in that list. I think it's phenomenal.
Thanks.
The production is what I wanted to talk to you about. You have a very minimal sound that's very powerful, and I've noticed a lot of detail to recording and production. I mean, in some of the tracks I can hear just layers of found sounds in the background. It sounds like amp hissing, feedback. Now, you have your own studio. You obviously have a background in recording and engineering, or something that you've pursued.
Oh, just trial and error.
Is it? Okay. It's just the recording itself with Morphine is just, to me, it's very detailed, but it's very intimate. You feel like you're right in the middle of you guys playing. You can hear every little nuance.
That's cool. Well, I mean, up until now, we've been working with a friend of ours who's turned out to be a big shot producer. Paul Coley.
Yeah.
But for this album, he chose not to get involved. So we said, well, fine. I'll do what I said.
Did you like that? I mean, it
didn't matter at that point. So but we're not finished with it yet, and I think we are going to try to find a genius to hook up with to help us finish it.
Is it still going to be released to DreamWorks/Ryko Disc?
Yeah.
How's that been, being on DreamWorks or affiliated with them? I'm not sure on the technical aspects.
Now we have 2 record companies, so
I guess, yeah.
Twice as much fun. No, there's DreamWorks has been very cool, very supportive, patient. Ryko.
Mark?
Yeah, ready?
I'm sorry.
Are they ready?
No.
My turn to choose.
You're the last one to choose.
twice damn determined and already carpool for your defense. So long, Bill. You okay, Tom?
I've been ever since I heard.
Well, look,
Cure
a
for
lot
Pain.
of bands don't make it to Florida. Don't
I
pick
know,
on
but
us.
Why though? I think it's a lot of myths.
Why? Well, part of it is because it's a peninsula, not on
Okay,
the way
the
to
travel
anywhere else.
expenses.
The geography of it all. It's sort of like every band that goes to Europe doesn't necessarily play Italy.
Okay.
I think of Florida as the Italy of America.
I mean, you wouldn't believe
It's a
some of my.
lovely place, and it's just hard to get to sometimes.
I mean, I have so many friends that are into you as well, and that have been frustrated just because, you know, I think the closest you've come before is probably Atlanta.
Well, let me just put it this way. We never told anybody, don't accept any Florida dates. You know?
Okay, it just never
It
happened.
just didn't work into the our schedules in the right times. I don't know, there's no real reason. Just
Okay. I was just curious, just because.
just
you know.
our circumstances scheduled it this way. But basically, the point of this trip is to get down to Florida. So
Wow.
these 4 Florida dates are the
You played in Tallahassee
yeah.
at Cow House.
Janice. Oh, that was in St. Pete.
Pete. What were the shows like the last few shows? Then?
They've been really good. The one at St. Pete was outdoors. Beautiful.
Oh, Janice
venue.
Landing, yeah.
And
That's
that
it.
was a real. There's something special about that.
Yeah, well, that's got a lot of history. That's been around since the early '80s. Every punk and underground act in the last 2 decades have shown up there at some point or another.
That's cool. And Tallahassee was. Oh, have you been to the Cow House?
Yeah, actually, I went to college at Florida State, so.
So you know all that.
Yeah, it's a college town. It's the capital of Florida, but that's about it.
Yeah, it was cool though. It was a good show. People seemed familiar with the records.
Good. You're playing at Firestone. I don't know if you know the history behind Firestone or even Orlando's music scene. Orlando's on the map the last few years for its electronic music scene.
It is?
And, yeah, well, it depends if you follow that or not. If you did, you'd probably know that. If not, you probably would have no clue. But
That's
Firestone
cool. I didn't know that. But I
Firestone
did.
is considered the historical club of techno in Orlando. Every DJ in the world's been here and did their thing. Back to your music though. Your songs always seem to come from a gritty, sweaty, drunken late night perspective. What about that vibe has fascinated you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's just the way that it comes out. The way it sounds good to us. We weren't really going after that sound. It's really just, at least part of it is the players, the people that were involved, that are involved with it, and personalities. Then there's the lyrics.
Yeah, the lyrics.
They're kind of well, they're sort of all over the place in a way. There's different kinds of different tones from light to heavy, I guess.
Yeah, it's very, to me, listening to it, it's very moody at times. I like that myself.
Mm-hmm.
It puts me, in my head, it puts me in a time and place. It transports me, and that's what I like about your music. It's very visceral. I can, in my head, picture something, which every person filters through their own thought processes and gets up with something different.
I think these combining frequencies that we're doing seems to have a physical effect on certain listeners.
Well, the bass playing, definitely. I mean, as soon as you hear one note from your bass, it's you.
Really?
Well, at least in my mind, I'm so into music that someone else may not say that, but
So far.
But curious, what type of effects do you put your bass through? I'm really into different effects pedals and stuff since I also play bass, but
Well, I got a big collection of electro harmonics brands.
fuzz pedals and
Yeah, they made everything.
yeah,
And
they did
combined them all
analog.
in different combinations, and they were really a cool company to They've reissued some of them,
And I saw that.
but they're not really the same. But then each pedal was a little different from the one next, go right before it. So.
Should they change the parts out?
I like that brand because you can turn the knobs up to really extreme settings.
Nice saturated.
Like having a speedometer that goes to 300 or something.
You can push it all the way.
Yeah.
As far as the songwriting goes, how does that develop? Is it a group effort, or is it something that someone comes up with a riff, chord progression?
I pretty much come in with the skeleton, most of the words and the basic idea, and then we have to figure out how to play it with this band. It's hard for people to just settle into the traditional roles, and everybody has to concentrate a lot, really. I think maybe a little more than a regular band, because everyone's exposed. But I like that the setup we got, because if somebody doesn't play, it's almost like a whole new texture. The bass stuff, or the drum stuff, or the sax stuff. So.
That's, to me, it's been the dynamics, because in a lot of the songs, instruments will drop out, and it will be just, maybe you playing with some drums a little bit behind you, and then it kind of layers back on, and then drops out again, and that just alone right there is, to me, a pretty sophisticated songwriting device to strip away.
That's arranging, that stuff, and that's where the playing with good musicians helps a lot, because to play with dynamics is one of the hardest things. I think probably the hardest thing for a musician is to be on stage with an instrument in their hands and not play.
Well, the temptation is to always throw notes out.
And so I think that Billy Conway is probably one of the most dynamic drummers around.
Well, that's what I like about every piece of the band has something that's unique about it. His drumming style stands alone. Sax, of course. I mean, that's another distinct. You hear the sax lines, Morphine.
So then those guys bring a lot to the arrangements. It's just trial and error, chase it around, and if you can get through it at Soundcheck, then we try it live and see what kind of reaction we get. Usually, you can tell if a song is worth pursuing from playing it live. So we try to work the new things into the set as soon as we can, just to see what the hell it's all about. Do you show your writing to friends before you turn it in ever?
Not usually. Usually what happens, I have a full-time job as an editor, which is like my day job, and I do this freelancing stuff whenever I can. Usually I write a piece, it goes, it gets sent to the magazine's editor, and they get with me, and if he or she needs to do anything, I generally don't pass it off to my friends to read. People do, I guess.
Because I was trying to imagine writing a book, like a 300-400-page book, and just to be able to step back and read it from beginning to end, just to see what kind of book you wrote. It must be really difficult after laboring over every sentence,
I'm sure it's just like music. You would step back and listen to something you did.
That's what I'm saying. We're really dependent on that.
Writing's very similar that way.
Playing for other people, or even demo tapes, or certain friends, and we like to bounce it off of women too, because I think that we pretty much have a handle on what guys were like.
Well, that's funny you mentioned
we
that.
Know what women
I have several
like,
female friends.
We're trying to learn,
Several female friends of mine are huge Morphine fans, and their word to describe Morphine is sexual. That's the most frequently used term, and people, at least a lot of my female friends, they're just very sexual. And to me, that's a compliment. So if anything can get that's a very distinct vibe to come up with from music. I like that myself.
We're not really trying for that per se, but I think part of it is just the frequency combination, like I was saying. It's just certain people who are alive from the waist down are going to respond. And maybe it's not sugar-coated enough for widespread hype, but
Are you comfortable with that? That you may never be the next, commercial radio stars?
Oh yeah, it's fine. I'm sure our record company would like us to be more of a household name.
What's that like being I've been curious to ask this to several musicians. What's it like being in a band in your position? And the record label, of course, would love you to sell more. Is there ever any type of pressure or insinuation to maybe tone something down here and there?
Most record companies, you send them the album, they're just listening for something that they could push the radio.
Mm-hmm. They want a
And
single.
if they hear one or two things that they could push the radio, they think, then they're happy.
Okay. I was just curious about that.
And that could happen, that could be anything. You can't really sit down and go, I'm going to write a song that they'll play on the radio, because it's just...
Some people
you hear
try.
a lot of songs like
Yeah.
that on the radio, and they're all crap. So, I guess I made my point.
Yeah, I completely agree. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Kind of wrap through the basics.
I'm glad we made it down to Florida. We've had really good shows. And
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
And we'll be back. We'll be back. We'll just keep going from Atlanta from now on. Instead of
well, trust me, there'll
heading
be
to Nashville.
thousands of people down here that will be greatly appreciative. Because there's always like the mythical thing, okay, Morphine's got a new album out. Are they going to come to Florida this time? And no. And finally, and it was weird this time because you don't have a new album out, like something came out almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And people were like, well, that's weird. They finally come to Florida, but there's no album out. But everyone was happy, so.
It doesn't matter. Albums,
Well, you know how a lot of the system is. You put an album, you tour.
I know. It's the same with press, Like, people who buy music magazines, the only bands they're reading about are the bands signed to labels with publicists pushing for press.
And huge advertising dollars that they spend
right. And
on the
when you don't
magazines.
have a record out, the interviews are very scattered, very few and far between because, as you know, the writers don't choose the subjects,
not maybe
so
at my
it just
level.
makes you realize that you're not really reading about any music magazine. It's really just an extension of major label publicity department.
You know how many people? You know how many? Put it this way. You know how the average reader would have no clue about that. I know it because I've been educated as a journalist and I do this for a living.
Right?
Yeah, but a lot of people don't even realize when they pick up, say, Spin or Rolling Stone,
Right.
that they're essentially reading in a lot of cases rewritten press releases.
Yeah, basically it's.
They do a trade out. Okay, we're gonna.
All those magazines are publicist driven.
Exactly. We'll run an ad with you in Rolling Stone if you do a favorable story on X band. There's a lot of that, and that the average reader doesn't even know that goes on.
Never mind all the other things like all the store windows and those are all paid for. All the special displays and discounts, those are all paid for.
Oh, your big
your placement of your album in the stores.
It's like a grocery store. It's like a grocery store. The cereal box getting a better location than
exactly. And
a
you
lower
pay for
tier.
that, and they rent space on key shelves and.
See, that part of the business would drive me nuts.
Well,
I guess
we
you
just
gotta,
don't worry about it.
I guess you just have to.
We don't read music magazines very much, and we do the interviews because it makes people happy. Not the audience necessarily, but our publicist and our label and everything.
Of course, it's a machine.
We're just, it's easier to say yes, no. Interviews can be really brain damaging, especially when an album's coming out. We're all doing 30 or 40 interviews a week for like a month.
Yeah, I know. You guys are on like a schedule.
So like every half hour, someone else calls up with very similar questions,
and you have to
you're
sit
trying
there
to think of new answers
smile
for
at
the same
phone.
questions. Like, you have not really that interesting subject because I'm not complaining. I'm just
I know. No,
there's a lot of them, and it can be kind of mentally bruising.
I'm a very aware person. My day job is journalism, but this is more of a labor of love for me. I have been obsessed with music since I was a preteen, and I get paid. It's not even worth the money I get paid. I put so much labor into writing these pieces that it's not anything about the money.
Well, it's the same with bands.
Oh, I know.
Nobody makes any money. Now we're making a living, but for the first 3 years, we put every nickel back in the band.
Yeah.
How many people have done that? I mean, besides every single person in any band.
Yeah, exactly. Lots
Or
of
anyone trying to get into pro sports or anything that everybody thinks they can do. Like sports, music, photography, writing, right?
Exactly. What music these days excites you? Like, what do you hear? What do you listen to on any given?
Listening to, I'm liking the new Massive Attack album.
Oh, okay,
They do some
cool.
nice things with bass.
Yeah.
I'm listening to the L.A. Smith album. Pretty cool.
You just played here Monday.
And I like some things on the Soul Coughing record. And I don't know. Those are the three that pop into my mind right now. We get a lot of free things to check out on the bus.
Is that Wilco on top?
Yeah, that's their
That's
new
supposed to
one.
be pretty good.
Yeah, it's kind of
I went a little bit different direction for that.
a lot
From
of
what I've read.
kind of pop. It's got a lot of
I said Beatles-esque when
yeah.
I read.
I guess
so.
that's fair to say. Beatlesque.
That's a writer's term.
Yes. Got this sampler of all these Warner Brothers bands. These are all Warner Brothers stuff because we knew someone who worked for them. He dropped off his file on the bus. Yeah.
Wanted to ask you a small favor. Could you sign something for a friend of mine?
Yeah.
It's my
It's
friend
not Home of
Lilah.
the Blues.
What was
Oh,
that?
it's
It's the
see it.
flyer. My friend
It's not a
Lilah.
syringe on the cover.
I think it's a plug, quarter-inch plug. I have a friend Lilah. She is in Providence. She's seen you guys 2 or 3 times, and her birthday is this weekend. And she completely was. She's like, "Why don't you get them to call me?" I'm like, "Well, I don't think they'll do a birthday call, but maybe I can do a." But you guys are playing up in Boston, I think, in a couple of weeks, so she'll probably be at that show. I think she'll be very excited. Alright, well, my little business is done. Now I can go enjoy your show.
Alright. Thanks for your interest.
Oh, no problem.
Thanks for waiting around. Sorry about that.
Like I said, that is...
I'm usually
it's kind of a hurry up and wait thing.
usually more dependable.
Well,
I
sleeping,
yeah,
so...
they couldn't wake me up.